Hi everyone, this is Jonathan on Underpromoted, and today I'm really happy to have Dinara Wagner on the channel. Dinara, dobro pożałować.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, for having me here.
We can just start in chronological order from the beginning. So you learned chess when you were a 6-year-old from your grandfather. Um, just tell us about, you know, first days of chess and also growing up with your family and Kalmykia, how that was like.
So, yeah, I started playing chess when I was 6 years old, and my grandpa showed me how the pieces move. I quickly became really fascinated by the game, and I wanted to play more and more with him. Once I asked my grandma to bring me to the chess club so that I can have a real coach and to progress more, play with other players, club players. And that's what she did. First, yeah, I asked her to bring me to the drawing lessons and chess lessons. She took me to both. At the drawing classes, they told me I'm way too young. I should come with 10. And at the chess club, they were happy to accept me. And yeah, I immediately liked the atmosphere. I liked hanging out with other kids who also have chess as an interest, who are as competitive and who also want to play and get better. I remember that when I played with my grandpa, and he was a very decent club player. Maybe if I would assess now his level, it would have been 15, 1600. And obviously, in the beginning, I would always lose to him. He's just much stronger, and I just started playing chess. But once he showed me how to give scholars mate, the one with e4, bishop c4, queen f3, queen f7 mate. And he let himself get mated by me. And that was the first time I won. We also played like a bit more moves on 4. It was played e4, e5, bishop c4, maybe not bishop, queen h5 immediately, but not queen f3 immediately, but first queen h5, g6, queen f3, and then took on f7. And yeah, it was also really cool how he gave me this feeling of a victory. I felt so proud. I felt like I'm the best chess player in this world. And back then, of course, I didn't know that he let me win. I just thought I'm great. My grandma taking me to the chess club was also an important step, which allowed me to become better, to have a coach, and to continue my trainings. So later on in life, I started training with one of my coaches, but he was young back then. I think he was in his 20s. So he moved to Moscow to study. And then I suddenly was already without a coach for a few months. But then my dad went to the same chess club, and he asked one the coach who worked with more advanced kids to also have a look at me and maybe to train with me. And that's how I came to my, let's say, first coach with whom I worked for quite some years and was in his group. We were me and 3 other guys. That's how my chess journey basically started.
So when you're growing up, before you became a very serious chess player, maybe you're also considering other things like drawing, or maybe you also had to do school, maybe help your parents with some chores and um, play with the other kids. What was like the childhood like?
Yeah, in the childhood, I was interested in many things. I did gymnastics, like rhythmic gymnastics for a couple of years. My coaches there told me that I have some predisposition to that, and it would be cool if I continue. I was even supposed to go to the nationals to participate there, but at the same time, I had nationals in chess, and I chose to participate in chess for the first time. And that somehow slowly came into me quitting on rhythmic gymnastics because chess was already taking so much time of my life that I had to make a choice, and my choice was directed towards chess. Just I liked it much more. It was it would have been still cool probably to combine these two. Mm, but yeah, I don't really remember what the reason was, but I gave up on the gymnastics. I also at some point I told my parents I want to play on an instrument. They brought me to the music school. I had my fun there as well, and it was difficult to combine chess trainings and school. I remember also because my chess trainings were in the second half of the day and school lessons as well, right after school, like after right after normal school. So I couldn't combine both. I had to again choose chess. Like it was my conscious decision that I would prefer chess over everything else. But once I think in every child's life, they have this moment when they say, I want to quit that. And I came up to my parents and I said, I want to quit chess. I don't want to play. And I mean, it was obvious that I want to quit it because kids my age would hang out at the playground, would have fun, have a very careless and free childhood. And I also wanted the same. I didn't want to work hard. I didn't want to spend 4 hours a day on chess. I wanted just to do what other kids do. And then usually in this position, parents have two decisions to make, right? Either say, yeah, true, sure, it's your choice, it's your life. You don't have to play if you don't want to. Or like what parents normally of a maybe post-Soviet mentality would say, no, I said you have to play chess, you're good at it, you will continue. But my parents chose the third option. My dad paid me to train chess. He was like, um, he said for every hour that I would train chess, I would get 10 rubles. 10 rubles for me back then was huge money. For 10 rubles, you could buy one cone of ice cream, you could buy one frutella, it's like the snack, or one Mentos, or one Meller. So, like 10 rubles per hour, like, the little businesswoman in me was like, I would happily accept this offer. I regret a bit not bargaining for more, but okay, still, it was a very fair offer. And of course, after a few months, I already was back into loving chess, into not thinking about quitting it anymore, and forgot about our deal. No, it's so. That's the story of how I'm still in chess and how I'm thankful to my parents for not giving up on that, not just allowing me to quit whenever I wanted, but showing me, like giving me this nudge, very positive reinforcement to keep me in chess. But in general, yeah, would say that the environment where I grew up was really supportive, was very open to any new experiences that I wanted to have, let it be rhythmic gymnastics, music, drawing, or chess. And I think if I would have chosen other paths, my parents would have supported me as well. It was never very chess oriented. Like we were, my parents know the rules. My mom doesn't really play, and my dad is not so bad. He never had a rating or anything like that. Actually, once he participated in tournament or even in a street blitz tournaments, and he also got 1500. So that's very good. I feel like he has a very good understanding because early in life, when I would have my training, sometimes before picking me up, he would come a bit earlier and he would be with me at the training for the last like 10, 15 minutes and learn something for himself too. So he was always interested in that. And sometimes we even for fun play games when he gets 1 minute, sorry, where I get 1 minute and he gets five with no increment on, like old mechanical clock.
Wow.
So then I really track how much seconds I have left.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it seems like your family is very important. One story was you had won some prize money and you used it to buy your sister a ring. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was in 2010. My sister got married, and I was already by this time getting some small tournament wins, and saving some money. And then I thought, okay, I would like to give her some nice gift. I went with my aunt out. We were at a chess tournament, and I said, she asked me what I want to gift her, and I don't know how I came up with a ring. I'm sure they got a ring. Why does she need another ring? But it turned out to be a ring, and she was really happy about it. I presented it at her wedding, It was really, really sweet, and I was really proud that I had my own money and could buy my present for my sister.
Yeah, that's a good sign. You went from buying candy for yourself to buying a gift for your sister.
Yeah, as a kid, I would also sometimes get money from my sisters for massaging them. So yeah, all the different ways to earn I would use. Um, yeah, also some birthday presents and tournament wins, yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking about your first coach and those, like, training, those 4 hours. That's when you're with, Stanislav, Renjanov, right?
It was even early. It was with Anatoly Shmakov.
Okay.
He was my first coach, and then I started training with Stanislav Aranjanov after I won my first under 10 Russian championship.
So for an under 10-year-old or even younger, what do you spend your time how was your training? What it involved?
Mm. Yeah, from what I remember, we were definitely watching many classical games. So all the world championship matches, all the yeah games of Soviet players. That was a must. We would also study openings, probably not that extensively back then, more like which ideas I have in this opening rather than concrete moves, what we do at this level, at this point. Definitely solving studies and solving some easy tactical exercises.
What do you think was your biggest strength as a kid, or what did you like the most?
What I did like the most, yeah, also I forgot the one another important aspect is analyzing the games. Yeah, back then nobody, at least in our age, use an engine, so we analyzed games by hand with with a coach, getting into different lines, delving into different scenarios, and that was really fascinating and something that I miss the most. Just purely analyzing with another person without an engine help and finding some new ideas, opening some new perspectives on your own without uh, an external help. Nowadays, unfortunately, people don't do that anymore, but it's also a great practice. So, for somebody who just starts their chess journey, I would recommend that as a very good practice.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what I like the most? Probably, yeah, looking at the games, because usually at some point you would get to an exercise phase where a coach would ask you, okay, how would you play here? And then you'll try to think about the position, about the structure, what the possible threats are, and to find the best moves. Yeah. I like this as the most as a exercise.
And then before moving on to college and life choices, another story is that you were one of the torchbearers for the Sochi Olympics. So
Yeah,
how is that?
I was really impressed that you found this out because nobody knows about it. Nobody has ever asked me about that. I almost forgot myself that I ever did that. So yeah, there was a Winter Olympics in 2014 in Sochi, and before that there is a torch bearing process. So I was chosen to be a torch bearer from Kalmykia, since by this time I was already um yeah, probably winning um, some national championships or like recognized by people in Kalmykia as a good chess player of my age. And it turned out to be that I was the youngest one in whole Russia to be a torchbearer. That's why I had some this extra attention from the media back then. I remember doing a couple of interviews on that, but I really didn't know what to say. Like they were like, "Are you excited?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I mean, I didn't realize how big it was. I was just a kid. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna run for 100 meters with a torch," which was extra heavy. It was. I had to sometimes hold it with two hands because it was just super super heavy. Um, yeah, I think I was also penultimate one to run to the final person there. And it was a really nice event. I would like to repeat it once again in my life because it was just so cool. And I feel like I didn't appreciate it enough back then. It was also really nice that on that day there was a free day in the whole region, in all the schools. So all of my classmates and people from my school came out on the streets to watch me run, and it was just so cute how everyone came there to support me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
lot of things in childhood that not just torch bearing, but I think a lot of things in childhood we didn't appreciate when we were young, and
exactly.
it would be nice to go back.
Yeah, when you look back on that and you're like, wow, there are so many things to be grateful for and to appreciate. And back then you felt like, yeah, like that something was rather a difficulty that, I have to do this and then I have to do that. And now it feels so amazing.
Yeah, now you spend money to get trainers for chess, and back then you're paid.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about you're getting a little older, you're thinking about university. Eventually, you go to HSE, Vyshshaya Shkola Ekonomik. How did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I was 17 years old when I finished school. And already before finishing, the question that popped up was whether I want to become a professional chess player or I want to go into academia and try to study something that I'm interested in. And it was a very big decisions to make in the last 2 years of my high school. My parents were supportive of anything. My mom was inclining slightly towards academia. My dad said that he would be inclining towards chess, and it's totally my decision. So I had support on both sides, and I knew that it's a big decision to make. And I kind of always wanted to do both. I wanted to explore myself outside of chess. I wanted to maybe move out from my parents, go to a new city just to find out who I want to become, what kind of person I am, what other options are out there, and also to, yeah, get to know the world outside of chess. Basically, that was my motivation. But I also always felt like being a professional chess player is something that I would really like to do. Like, if I would be given two lives, I would try both of them just to know how it feels. Um, but yeah, if I have to choose one, I would not have changed anything. Yeah, this path that I chose, I felt like it was the right one for me. Um, but always, it also feels cool when people from the very young age that they already know that they want to go pro, and they say with 12 or with 10, yeah, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a professional chess player. And I have a lot of respect for these people since it takes a lot of courage and a lot of self confidence to choose this path and to be 100% certain that you want to do that for the rest of your life, because there is no, like, what is good about that is that you have your goal, you have your path, and you know that you are destined to become great, that there is no other way out, you have only this one. Unfortunately, that also brings a lot of pressure associated with that. You know that you don't really, again, have a way out. Yes, probably you would probably think, okay, I spent so many years, this sunk cost fallacy. I spent so much time and money and effort into chess. I have to stay in chess now. I cannot choose anything else because that's something I committed myself to many years ago. So yeah, the path of a professional chess player, choosing that from a very young age, is something that, yeah, is something very difficult that every chess player at some point encounters in their life. And I think that my decision to explore both options was the right one for me because first of all these things I said about being interested in the world outside of chess. But second of all, I think it was also a bit of scare. You cannot be certain what the life will, as a professional chess player, would bring you. There also can be a social stigma from people outside about becoming a pro. Yeah, people would maybe in some way judge you, maybe some way not understand you. And it's great when people don't have to think about other people's opinions and can just choose their own path. It's great, but I think me at 17, I was not that courageous and not that ready to take this decision, and I really wanted to succeed in both, let's say. I always thought that I could do both, that I would be I would try to be the best version of myself and try to be good there and there. And it was difficult, and I think it's mm, yeah, you always have to sacrifice one when you choose another.
Mhm. Even within Russia, do you feel like there's some, stigma or difficulty if you say, "I wanna be a professional chess player"?
Yeah, I think in Russia it's definitely much less than in Europe. In Russia, it's taken more as a very intellectual sport, and if you become a professional chess player, you're considered to be, let's say, like you don't need an education to be educated,
Mm.
which is yeah true. But and there people take it completely differently than in Europe. In Europe, if you say like in most of the cases, if you say I'm a professional chess player, the first thing they would think is like, are you okay? um, how like are you gonna earn? What's like what a nice hobby, but they would not understand not going for the education path.
So how did you keep up, um, your chess training? How did you explore both paths, right? Did you sleep less, or did you just take longer at university? How did it work?
No, I think just I had to focus more on university. It was something new, something more challenging. In school, I always had good grades, but it was not the same as getting into a very competitive environment where everyone wants to succeed and where everyone is like really one of the best who try to get there. I went into a very like let's say prestigious university in Russia, and that's why I had to put my main focus on studies and to put chess a bit behind. I was playing less, or I would say even I was not playing less. I was training much less. I would play a tournament and sometimes not even properly analyze my games because I would feel like I don't know. It was something not good to do. Don't do that, kids. um, but yeah, no. But I was also really happy because in my undergrad, met my best friend, and we're still best friends up to this point. So I'm really grateful. I also met other super, super great people who I'm still in contact with, who are my people outside of chess world. And I'm yeah super happy to encounter those people, which otherwise, if I would stay in chess, I would never encounter probably. Maybe on some random hobbies, yes, some lessons, but not really in the academia.
On the one hand, you can feel excited, like, "I'm glad I have the possibility that I can keep doing chess and do university." But on the other hand, you could say, "I'm doing both of these things less than how good I wanna do them." Did you ever feel like that?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I'm not doing both of them 100%. I cannot physically do both of them 100%. I cannot read more. Like I could always choose to read more research articles or to study more chess games or to play more tournaments, and I couldn't choose both. Like just technically not. Sometimes I would have to miss a tournament because of an important exam, and in Russia, education system is a bit different, so you cannot really postpone your exam. You have to take it on that exact day when it's scheduled to be. Sometimes maybe you could talk to your professors and they would have an additional day for all people who have a special reason. But in most of the cases, it was still not possible, so I would have to miss an important event. Like at some point, I remember I didn't play in under 20 junior championship, which took place in Khanty-Mansiysk. even though under most circumstances I would take a part there. And it was the same with under 18 World Championship, I remember, in 2016. Yeah, anyway, there were there were some difficulties with that, combining chess and school at the same time in terms of not having enough time to train chess or not having um, enough time to dedicate yourself to studies because of chess. Yeah, I mean, some people can say you can always find time for everything, but probably I'm not one of those people.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like it would be easier? Maybe it would be easier if A, you're really bad at economics or you're really bad at chess, so then you can just focus on one and have no other way out? Or you're glad you have both choices?
No, I'm really glad I have both choices. As I said before, let's say I would have chosen chess to be my profession back then and not have the second choice. I would have felt a lot of pressure from within and from outside to perform well. And I know myself, I don't like, I mean, with time, of course, I'm fine playing under pressure in some conditions that, like, under time pressure, let's say, inside not. Or under tournament condition where I have to win the game, it's also some kind of pressure, but not this long-term pressure where I have to think about I've got to become a world champion or it was not worth it.
So let's move on now you graduated, you're thinking about next steps in life, and you moved to Germany and you're enrolled in a master's program, but it's impossible to talk about Germany without talking about your husband, Dennis. So, briefly, how did you guys meet? How did you stay in touch? How did you get to know each other?
Yeah, in a brief version, we met in Riga at the R2 Chess Open. We had went to a party, hanged out there, exchanged phone numbers. Next day, he asked me out, kinda, to have a excursion in the city. I was too bored, and I came up with some lame excuse that my friend doesn't feel well. I don't just didn't want to go. I was too lazy. But then we still kept in touch. We started texting and texting more, finding more about each other. At some point, fell in love, met each other again at another tournament. And then COVID hit. We were forced to go back to our homes, to our home cities, towns. And we would text every day. We would be already together at this point, and we would text every single day, have a call. That was really, really cool. I mean, it was a pity that we couldn't see each other, but I feel like we did the best out of it. We would have calls for 5 hours in a row just to talk about everything. By the time we met again, it's been only half a year since we were together, and basically this half a year we spent on the phone talking to each other. But we already felt like we know each other so much, and like it's just such a right fit from both our sides that that Dennis proposed to me, which came really unexpected because we were both young, but it just felt right, and that's the rest is history. And during this time when we were stuck at home, my plan was that I graduate from my undergrad and I would go have a gap year, play a lot of tournaments, visit new places. But since COVID struck, we were locked in at home. Uh, but it was also a good opportunity to train chess, to do chess in a peaceful environment. I also got to spend a lot of time with my family, which I appreciated a lot. My sister also came back to home to visit for a long time, and it was I know it was just the best family time I had back then. A lot of evenings, board games, cool dishes, cool talks. I really, really liked it, and Dennis also had the same from his side. But also during this time, Dennis and I we decided we want to move in together. So in order for me, we discovered both options, he moving to Moscow or me moving to Germany, yeah, he would be happy to do that for me. And we seriously discussed that, but it made more sense that I moved to him because he already had a job, had an apartment to live in, and also we saw that the most logical way to proceed would be me getting a German visa as a student to go for a master's degree. Generally, I was not sure if I want that next year. For sure, I knew that I wanted it in the future, but just turned out to be a very good decision because during this time I gathered some documents, applied for language exam, for visa, and by the September of 2021, I moved to Germany.
Yeah, I have so many questions. So, we do see some chess couples. I think there's, yeah, some Russian ones, some Chinese ones I know of. Do you feel like when you and Dennis were talking, you're just talking like normal people? Or what did you talk about, getting to know each other?
Oh, so many things. Like, I would say chess maybe was not one of the main topics. Of course, they were chess associated stories about some people or events, but mainly, like, what do you talk? What's your favorite series? What's your favorite music? What's your favorite, like, everything in the world? Favorite food? We immediately had so many points in common. Like, our favorite series at the moment would be How I Met Your Mother, like, and we would also watch it together. I think we also installed some app where we can watch series at the same time, and that was also very practical. Yeah, basically everything outside of chess as well, and chess, like what's your dream and goal, and what's your values, and so on and so forth. And we
Mhm.
just clicked every single regard of that.
Wow. And then you said it was early to get married, but your sisters, both of them, they got married earlier as well, right? Relatively young.
Well, my elder sister got married at 25, and the other one was 33.
Okay. So you're
I'd
the
say
youngest.
for yeah, for Russian standards, that's not that early, and I would never have imagined to get married at 22. Never in my life.
Mm. And for
But yeah,
German standards, it's definitely early.
at Grenke especially, yeah. When I came to uni and I met my friends at first, I mean, at this introduction phase, you talk about yourself. You say, yes, moved to Germany, yes, for studies, and also have a German boyfriend. But I didn't tell them immediately that he proposed to me because it's something you don't mention. And then at some point in December, we already had a wedding, and it's been 3 months in between. And I had to tell my friends that I'm like my new friends that I'll have a wedding. And that was I still remember their reaction. They were so, so shocked. Even after this day, sometimes I remember the stories and they're like, wow, that's amazing. But yeah, when I told them, they were shocked at the same time. They saw us together already for many times and they felt like, yeah, that's the best fit. Why to wait for 5, 10 years if you already know that that's something you're gonna do? Yeah, I remember it was hard or maybe like not so common to talk about it. But like, everyone was really understanding and really supportive in my surroundings.
Mm. And so, yeah, I also got married at 22. So,
"Oh, really? I didn't know you're married. Cool. So we
Mhm.
did it at the same time.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So we can be, ambassadors of getting
Married early.
married by early age." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So let's talk more about the experience of immigrating. Living in a new country, learning the language, just adjusting to the culture. How is that?
I would say it was relatively easy for me because in general, I'm a very flexible person. I adjust very well to new things. I'm generally open to new experiences and new things, new cultures. So for me, it was more about, I don't know, just accepting things how they are. And also, I feel like a lot in German mentality resonates with me. So it was also super easy to adjust in this regards. Yeah, about learning the language, I immediately when I knew that I would move to Germany, I started looking for a tutor to learn the language. I got until 8 to 11 with a tutor already when I moved to Germany. Yeah, I think I started like in the summer 2021, and then by September, October, and December, I had some A2 level so that I could understand when we went to the city hall and I needed to understand when to say yes, like, yes, I would agree to be your wife. I still miss this moment, but okay, it was it was fun. It was just a very long speech, and then I was super, super concentrated and super nervous. And then at some point, when she asked the question, I didn't understand from the intonation that it was a question. And then Dennis needed to punch me, like, give me the small punch to say, yeah, it's like, it's your turn. You just need to say yes. And I was like, yeah. And it was done. So yeah, I started learning before I moved, and I continue learning German until this moment. It's been already 4 years. By now, my level has definitely progressed. I can already speak freely with people around me when I go out, when I meet with some of my friends, even. But when it's a longer conversation, I just feel like I cannot keep the same level of concentration the whole time. So I start making more mistake. I start getting a bit confused and forgetful. That's why I still feel much more confident in English and in German. Even though, yeah, I would say when I have to speak it, I don't really have problems except for the interviews. Because when I do interviews, I would like to communicate what I want to say in the best possible way. And sometimes it's not possible just due to the language barrier. So it's always a very stressful time for me when I have to give a German interview, an interview in German. But the rest, when it's just interpersonal communication with my teammates or with my captains or with Danish parents, grandparents, usually it's very chill and easy.
Well, but the best way to learn a language is to live in the country, so you're on the good track.
That's true. Yeah.
Is there anything that you miss about Kalmykia or anything you really like about Germany?
Miss the most people around me, my friends, my family. I would say if I could move them right now, right here, I would be super, super happy. Yeah. Also, I miss Kalmyk food a lot. Mm, yeah, it's hard to get the same products here. So I really like it when we meet with my parents. I didn't go to Russia for a long time, but we try to meet in some visa-free countries, and sometimes they bring some cool snacks with them, and I absolutely love it. Also, when I go to visit my sister in the US, she tries to cook Kalmyk dishes there, and I also like it every time that I'm there. I ask them to make there is a special Kalmyk dumplings. They're called börege. That's one of my most favorite food. And yeah, she does them really, really well, and I really appreciate that when I come and she has them ready for me. Yeah, so I would say mainly it's friends, family, food.
And what you like about Germany that's new for you?
Many things I like about Germany. I like the city where we live. It's a very beautiful city with a castle and a river. I like walking around here. I like our neighborhood. Um, I mean, I am eating German food as well. Maybe not as much because it's a bit too oily and heavy for me. Like I said, I like German mentality and culture. I to some extent like German language, even though it's a lot of pain. Um, yeah, I like friends that I met here when I moved there and when I moved here. And I like spending time with my family, with Dennis and like our family.
No, that's really good. Um, well, let's talk about your chess career now. Obviously, you've had important results. You've got your IM title. You've got some GM norms. You won the Grand Prix leg, which I think was one of your biggest results. Um, how do you feel about chess right now? Being a professional chess player, your level.
Yeah, that was a new turn. When I entered my master's degree, I quickly learned that education system here is a bit different. I can postpone my exams. I can take one more semester if I need to, which was not the case in Russia. That I can actually take as many semesters as I want to if I have some other things I need to focus on. And that gave me a lot of flexibility in terms of playing chess. I could choose the date of my exam, if it's going to be first term or second term. And that was one of the reasons I finally felt like it's time for me to go pro. It was a perfect surrounding, it was a perfect setting. And also, it's something I really wished I always wanted to go pro in the back of my mind. Because when I studied in my undergrad, I didn't consider myself a professional chess player. I was like, I'm semi-professional, you know? And now I really do because that's what I dedicate most of my time to, because I have my clear goals that I want to achieve, because I have the support for doing that. And yeah, one of the turning moments for me was changing the federation to the German Chess Federation. It happened in 2020, like I applied in 2021, but then in 2022, I got the permission to participate in the German flag. And it was some kind of boost of motivation and also tools that I needed to participate in the cool tournaments. For example, I immediately won the German championship, which was a great boost in confidence and in my self belief. Then I was competing for Germany at the World Chess Olympiad. And Chess Olympiad is one of these tournaments that every sportsman dreams of participating. That was my biggest dream. I always wanted to experience that atmosphere, that condition, that just setting. And being able to play there was something very special to me. And then another thing happened. Germany got a wild card from FIDE for organizing the Women Grand Prix series, Women Grand Prix leg, because Roman Kulich, who is also my sponsor, was organizing one of the events and sponsoring it in Munich. Since Elizabeth already qualified by Grand Prix, there was another free spot for one of the German players. And we had a small qualification tournaments for players who were above 2300 at that moment. And then it was Josephine Heinemann, Jana Schneider, and me to decide who will get the spot. And I won this tournament, so I got the spot, and this was probably the biggest changes in my career. There, where I realized now I will have a chance to play at the highest possible level. Before, I've played in some open events, yes, European Championship and Olympiad, but never in an event where every opponent of yours is a top class player. That every game is gonna be difficult, every game is gonna be tough. And of course, I needed to prepare for that tournament a lot. I hired a new coach. If before I worked mainly by myself for quite some time or with Dennis, there I already asked the coach I wanted to work with for a long time. He agreed, and we started preparing for this tournament. And this is exactly the moment where I made most of my progress. In terms of rating, I was always somewhere, let's say, around 2300, 2350, going back and forth. And with all the training and support, I got to 24 plus level within a year.
So nowadays, what are some of your obviously like grandmaster title, things like that, but how do you keep the motivation and keep training even if there's not too many good tournament opportunities, or maybe sometimes your rating doesn't go up, it stays flat or goes down a little bit. How do you continue with the training?
Well, I can try to continue in my own pace. Pretty much, it's the same training that every professional chess player does. A bit of uh, solving exercises, training with a coach, solving some difficult studies, or maybe analyzing the end games, analyzing your games, preparing for the opponent, learning new openings or new ideas and new openings, and all of that. But for me, it's sometimes very difficult to find that motivation, especially lately. I feel like in general, I am not that disciplined for chess play. And I think that highly disciplined people, they don't need motivation. They just have their systems
They
that
just
they
do
follow.
it?
Yeah, there's a routine. It's more like a routine, not a motivation. And that's something that I probably should work on, not to try to find a motivation every single time, but to find my routine where I would say, okay, every day is that many hours. Because for me, it works more sporadically. I can do 5 hours one day and zero the other day. Which is, yeah, many players have the same kind of agenda. They also have other obligations. It can be work, it can be motherhood, it can be university, and so on and so forth. So not every day you can work for some certain amount of hours, but still, I find that a better approach and probably something I should work on. So rather than finding a motivation somewhere from outside, is having your organized system.
Mhm. Yeah. But the good thing is that's something that you can control. Um, the chess results, maybe you can't control the output, but you can control more how much goes into it.
That's
Um,
true.
2 questions on people who are relevant for your chess career. You mentioned being sponsored by Roman Krulich. Um, yeah, have you ever been sponsored before? What do you think is the impact? Obviously, everyone knows sponsorship is good, but as someone who experiences it, what would you say about how it impacts?
Yeah, it's my first ever sponsorship, and I'm really grateful for Roman for believing in me, for supporting me in my journey. What does it mean to have a scholarship? To have a sponsorship is not only a financial benefit, but also another person believing in you succeeding. That he saw the potential that I could really achieve my goals. And I'm really grateful to him for that. He is also a great chess organizer. He is one who organizes German championship, or like partly German championship, as well as honorars for women national team. And recently, I also been to one of his charity gala events where there are different items being sold, and all of the money that being summoned is going to help underprivileged kids to have chess trainings for free, which is a great initiative and something that Roman is doing among other things. Yeah, vice sponsorship is great. Mm, okay, for me, it's like that. If I want to have, let's say, 10-hour training with a certain coach or 20-hour training, I have to think, okay, it's going to cost me this much of euros. And of course, it's nice not to think about it that some of your earnings, that how much you should spend on training, how much not to, that you can just have your trainings without this psychological pressure of thinking, I could actually do it without. Yeah, I could have a training with Dennis for free, or I can pay a coach this much money. And it gives me a freedom to choose and gives me a freedom not to worry about it. And that's great. Yeah, I understand that it's totally a privilege, especially in Western countries, to secure a sponsorship. And I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that in the future, more and more people would be able to be provided with such opportunity.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to touch on is, yeah, how is it being married to a chess player?
Well, I think it's just It's not that much different than being married to a non-chess player in terms of if you're both non-chess players, because people often ask us, who are not from the chess world, whether in the evenings, what do we do? What's our hobbies? Do we just play chess nonstop against each other? And I really think that apparently what people believe that we would sit down at the board and play blitz games all the time. No, we don't do that. We also um, it would be great if we would have done that. It would have been great for our chess. But unfortunately, sometimes we are just lazy and prefer to watch Netflix or play board games or do what any other non-chess couple would do.
Mhm.
Yeah, but in terms of the benefits, of course, it's so cool to have a person who 100% understands your struggles and your worries sometimes, and also 100% happy for your successes. Let's say if I had a bad day, I don't need to explain how bad I feel after losing this game. He just understands it and he is compassionate about how my feelings and how I do. And saying when it's a big success, you don't need to explain, yeah, that winning this and this tournament is really important for your career because he just knows it. And except for that, the rest is pretty much similar to non-chess couples.
Yeah. Okay, well, wrapping up, what are some board games, or TV series that you enjoy?
One of my favorite TV series is Suits. Then also How I Met Your Mother, which I mentioned before. Yeah, I like all the sitcoms, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory. Um, about board games, my favorite one is Catan. This one's probably the one that I played the most with my friends when we meet. We also actually played that one at the Grand Swiss tournament earlier last year in Samarkand. The whole German national team. That was so much fun. We
Like Catan?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I spent like 4 hours playing and arguing. It was yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, I also like other board games. For example, Ticket to Ride is really cool. It's very strategic and also, let's say, a bit luck based, like Catan. Azul, we sometimes play. Mm, yeah, now I need to open my drawer and see what kind of games we have. We have many.
Wow.
With our national team, when we play with girls, we usually try to play not competitive games, but more of team building games that you play as one team, which is good for the not individual events. Not a competitive, not Catan, nothing like that.
Yeah, 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 I heard you were playing City Country River and some other games.
True. How do you know that?
Research.
From that in yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dinara, for making time to do an interview. Yeah, good luck with all your leagues. Good luck at the European Women's Championship, all those things.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for having me.